replacements had only been broken up, 7 years at that time. And what's happened since then is that their reputation has kind of snowballed, and they are. I think it's really astounding to me that they're as relevant today as they seem to be.
Hi, I'm Hattie Webb, and this is All Over the Place podcast, where the fan sanity never ends.
Hello and welcome back to All Over the Place. I'm your host, Eric Porvazic, with so many great announcements this week, and we've got such a great guest. I'm just going to jump right in with all of this, but I'm going to bring in my co-host first. Bringing in first here, Kathy. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am over the moon with so much awesomeness with this show. I'm going to bring Jim in to talk about it. Jim, how are you?
I am awesome. How are you?
Well, it just keeps getting better and better with more people coming along. And we've had the stickers already. All over the place stickers. There you go. Oh, there we go. There. But now we have all over the place. Let me get it the right way there. All over the place keychains and pins. We've got all over the place pins. So what we're going to be doing as we continue to grow and more subscribers came in this past week, comments are coming in, more sharing, more. It's just, we're growing so much, folks. And we're going to reward you, our awesome fans. Every third comment, be it on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, we're going to get a hold of you, and we will be sending you some of our awesome merch, and maybe get an all over the place mug too. We'll figure out that one later. For right now, it's just again, I wouldn't send you mine. I'd send you a brand new one. So yeah, and also I want to thank everyone over at Danny Zalesko Presents. Had a great time at one of their events recently, the Steve Hackett show, and also shout out to our good friends over at Vinyl Record Dude. Big event coming up there for their actual grand opening. Going to be happening on Black Friday and that entire weekend. Lots of people coming out, shows, little bands are going to be performing there, and lots of giveaways over at Vinyl Record Dude at their new location in Scottsdale and Shea, and that's coming up. And just shout out to Nick and the gang over there. Also, a shout out to our former guest and our friend, and that would be Dan Schinder over at Drum Talk TV. We're going to be entering a partnership with them where you're going to be able to get a discount for their Drum Talk TV Brilliance.com, and discounts to have access to all of their content, amazing content, whether it's more interviews and live things that they share, concerts, and that's coming up. And so keep your eyes open for that one on a future show. And looking forward to that partnership with Dan. Always a fun guest and becoming a great friend of the show. And speaking of a great friend of the show, I want to bring in someone who I've known for a few years personally. We've known him a lot longer as a man who pretty much helped create the Minneapolis alternative, or I guess whatever we called it back at the time, college rock, left of the dial. And he's been a guest on the show before, promoting his book Euphoric Recall. And right now I want to welcome back Peter Jesperson. Hello, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you guys?
Good.
Good to have you back.
It was such a long intro. I wanted to make sure I got you into the stable here before there's anything else to share with the promotion. But so Euphoric Recall, I've read it at least 3 times, and sitting here over my shoulder there. And you were on with us a couple of years ago. And please tell us, what was it like taking that out and just promoting the book, doing the Q&As, and and sharing the stage with a person who's in the book quite a bit, and a friend of yours, I guess your surrogate nephew, who's evolved into a friend, having Tommy on the road with you as well to promote the book.
Oh, it was fantastic. It's funny. I'm not somebody who even likes having their picture taken, much less, being on camera or being in front of an audience. I suck at things like, panels at South by Southwest or whatever. But so when the book was finished and I started thinking about how we were going to promote it and talking with the people at the publisher on what they thought would be good, it occurred to me that I was going to have to do some things, and they suggested readings. And I just thought, man, I would just shrivel up if I had to stand in front of people and read from the book. So I said, how about if we try to do something where we find a music person in each city that we want to, or that we're invited to go to, and I do a Q&A with them rather than me reading from the book. And, it was funny, right from the start, I think the first one we had was in Seattle. and it went well. And then the second one was in Portland, and that went okay. And so I guess I got comfortable with it, and we ended up doing 20 of them around the country, from the Northwest, as I mentioned, down to LA, and a couple in LA actually, and then Minneapolis, and we did them out east in New York City and Providence, Rhode Island, and Philadelphia and Richmond, and yeah, there was 20 of them, and it was great. I really had a ball. Tommy Stinson joined me for 10 of them, and yeah, so it was just a really, really good time, and I'm kind of surprised at myself for being able to pull it off, but I think people generally seem to like it.
Well, I know I've enjoyed, when I was living in LA, getting to know you and our lunches. You're such a great rock on tour, and don't sell yourself short, Judge.
All right.
And I especially like the one that you did in Austin, the one with Chuck Prophet. I know you're a big fan of Chuck. So what was it like to be sharing the stage with him and Tommy as you're talking about the book?
That was a really special one. Chuck and I got to work together on a couple of records when I was at New West back in the 2000s. And I just love that guy. I would have made records with him until the cows came home. But we only got to do 2. And that was a blast. And we stayed in touch over the years. And so when I saw he was going to be at South by, I guess it was 2020, was it last year? 2024, I believe.
2024, yeah.
Yeah. And, so I just called him up and said, hey, would you want to do and Tommy Stinson was going to be down there with one of the bands that he produced that you were talking about, Eric.
Yeah, he was playing as himself, and maybe Cowboys in the Campfire, but then and Freedom Rockets were at that show as well.
Freedom Rockets, sorry, yeah, the name just escaped me there for a minute. So when I knew Tommy was going to be there, Chuck was going to be there. Tommy said he could do it with me, and I asked Chuck, and he made time for it too. So it was great. Chuck is such a, not only is he a great musician and songwriter and an amazing Telecaster player, but he's just he's got the gift of gab, and having a conversation with Chuck is always wildly entertaining. And to do a Q&A with him, I mean, he was prepared, asked great questions, made us feel comfortable, and we had a great time. And Waterloo is a store I've gone to for 30 years, and John Coons, the owner, is a good friend, and I just love the people down there, and I was so thrilled that they would host us to do such a thing. We had a great crowd, and it was I hadn't been to South by for 6 or 7 years, and it was it's quite it's gotten so big, it's a little unwieldy for me, so I maybe enjoy it a little less than I did in the old days, but it was still great to be able to be there.
And I was glad that you were able to have Tommy and Freedom Rockets there, and the picture that you shared on social media. To date, that is the greatest assemblage of all over the place guests in one spot at one time.
Good.
So far.
I like when happy accidents occur.
Yeah.
What were the fan reactions like so far and to the book? And are there any interactions in particular that kind of surprised you or were noteworthy you wanted to kind of shout out?
Oh boy, I think one of the best comments, or the best responses I got was from an old friend, Steve Almas, who was the bass player of the Suicide Commandos and then later beat Rodeo and several other groups. He was a good friend. We actually went to high school together, although we didn't know each other then. We met after the Commandos had formed. But he was one of the people that read the book very early on and got back to me, and just really he was very complimentary about it, and that meant a lot to me because Steve does not suffer fools. He does not mince words. If he hadn't liked it or had thought some of it sucked, he would have let me know. And actually, he said he liked the whole thing. So that was one of the most meaningful things, Jim. But I had a number of those, from people that I respect. I mean, getting David Frick to do the foreword. I think I teared up when he replied with a positive, with an affirmative, I should say, when I asked if he was interested in writing liner, the foreword for it. And I think he's one of the, if not the best rock writer, on planet Earth, certainly one of the top, and has been for many years. So that was a great honor for me, and having him like the book, meant the world to me as well. So there's a couple examples.
Awesome.
Peter, what inspired you to start this project, and what did you hope to get out of it?
Well, the book actually, it's funny. I'd been working for New West Records, and for I was actually the first employee of New West Records. Started there in 1999 after we'd shut Twin Tone down, and I had a great time. I was there for 17 years, and then in a restructuring period, they eliminated my position, and so I was no longer at New West, and I was not sure what I was going to do. I loved my time at New West, but I was also kind of excited about the freedom and a new chapter in my life. And so I was looking around for various things to do, and actually we started talking about the possibility of rebooting Twin Tone. We did a Suicide Commandos new recording, released new recordings by the Commandos in 2017, and I thought, wow, maybe we could put the label back together and put out new releases by new groups again, and not just administer the place as a back catalog label. And so I found a new partner, because my original Twin Tone partner, Paul Stark, did not want to jump back in full time. Said he'd be happy to help on a part-time basis, but he didn't want to go back at it that hard. So I found another partner, a guy named Stephen Judge, great music mind, was involved with Red Eye in the early days, Red Eye Distribution, and he owns the School Kids record chain in North Carolina, now down to just one store in Raleigh. But Stephen was going to be my partner in a new Twin Tone, and we had raised about 3/4 of the money that we needed, when I suddenly got an email one morning that said, would you like to write a book for us? A publisher from University of Illinois Press. And that was a startling moment in my life, I got to say. And so anyway, I thought I'd be a fool not to take this offer, and jumped in head first. And over the course of some time, I had a couple other people come in and ask if other publishers approached me, and so there was a little bit of back and forth with the first publisher, and whatever was the terms that I needed, were met by one and not the other, and so I ended up jumping to the the Minnesota Historical Society Press. So that's how that all begun. I mean, I've thought in the past about the possibility of writing a book, but I didn't really think anyone would ever actually want to publish one for me. And so when that came along, I like I said, I jumped at the chance, and it was a great experience, although partly torturous, because you have to write about things that aren't always pleasant. But in the end, of course, there's 1,000 things I wish I could fix, rewrite or subtract. But overall, for the most part, I'm pretty happy with it.
That's interesting. Writing a book is a daunting task.
It was very daunting, but it was about 3 years, and I have to say I loved most every part of it, of the process of it.
So when you agreed to write it, did they tell you kind of the idea of what they wanted you to write about, or did you have to come up with that yourself?
Well, I knew what I want. I knew that there were sort of some tent poles that I would want to write about. And I had kind of made a list. I think I had an idea of doing 10 chapters, which is what it ended up being. And I knew that there would have to be one on the record store where I worked for a decade. I knew there would have to be one on us starting Twin Tone Records. There had to be one on, finding the replacements, etc. So when I got involved with the University of Illinois Press people, they were just unbelievably cool. And they were so helpful in helping me make an outline, really. And I followed that outline to the letter, right down to the very last day I was writing. And so I'm very beholden to them. And, I'm sorry that I couldn't continue the process with them. But, it's just the way business works sometimes. You've got to look for, I had to find the right deal. And I'm not a professional writer. I have a lot of stories to tell, I think, and that I thought would interest a fairly decent audience, and so I did my best with the writing. I love to write. I knew I needed a lot of help in the editing department and making things all kind of fit together, and not. I tend to digress, which you'll probably find out on this taping here that we're doing. I had a lot of people helping me focus on the issues at hand, and what do they call it? Advancing the narrative.
Mhm.
So that's the way it worked, and I loved doing it, and I loved the promotion of it, and there's still a little bit of stuff happening here and there, and maybe there's another book down the road a piece.
So
That's what I was wondering. When is volume 2 going to be happening?
Yeah, I don't know about volume 2, but I'm actually going to write. I'm working on a chapter for a book that's coming out next year called Midwest Calling, which is a compendium of stories about music in the Midwest. But I've got some other ideas. There's some things that my book was really severely edited. I had written way more than I was contracted for. So I actually cut the manuscript I delivered in half. So I've got, I think I wrote 163,000 words. The book itself that I ended up with at the Minnesota Historical Society Press is about 89,000 words. So I've got a lot of extra stuff there. But I don't know if a part 2 is really, if anybody, maybe I've kind of, covered what I needed to cover, the essential things. And if I did a part 2, it might, not have the same pizzazz as part 1. So I really don't know. I'm still kind of working that out.
So for someone who hasn't read the book, what is the brief summary that you would say of why they should read it, what it's about, or what the overall theme is?
Well, it's a memoir of the work I've done in music, and I was struck by music as a very young kid. So I knew, there was never a point in my life where I said, I'm going to work in music. I just always knew that I was going to somehow. And, as a little kid, I didn't really know what that meant. I think initially I thought being a DJ was going to be my route. And I actually did go to radio school and studied broadcasting and radio electronics and worked in radio for about 15 months. And I realized that wasn't the right thing for me because I had other people telling me what music to play. And all due respect, I didn't think that they knew as much about music as I did, and it felt kind of funny. And I also was limited, to a certain commerciality, and I don't really abide by the mainstream. I like lots of mainstream music, but I also like a lot of things that are, on either side of the mainstream, so to speak. So
Right.
there were a lot of things that I couldn't play that I wanted to play. And I even got in trouble with the station I was on. It was a top 40 station, or I should say a gold record format station. And I played a John Lennon single when he put out the song Stand By Me. I played it before it was officially gold, and I got called on the carpet by the GM. And I thought that was really a bizarre thing to do. I mean, I was like, okay, in 2 weeks, this will be gold. Why are you, criticizing me for having played something that wasn't gold? But, I did it without permission in the middle of the night. I was on 1 a.m. to 8 a.m. and I didn't figure anybody was going to care. And for heck's sake, it was John Lennon, so that kind of was the point where I went, boy, if I get in trouble for playing a John Lennon song, I got to look for either another radio situation where I can really play what I want to play, or maybe I just go do something else, which is what I did. I ended up going in to manage a record store, and that really became my college in a way.
That is very rock and roll.
Yeah.
Playlists are for sucks. I've already discussed it on the show, and free forming is the only way to be if you're going to be a DJ, especially when you've got the knowledge that's up in Peter Jesperson's head. So yeah.
Well, kind of you to say. Thank you.
Well, I'm not the only one to say it, and that's what I liked about watching the Chuck Prophet, and again knowing you and being your house is just one big museum. I did describe that to somebody, and it's like it's just music coming from everywhere, and it's. It's just impressive to hear. And of course, the garbage truck comes now outside of my window. So I'm going to mute me, and somebody else does. In the words of the Replacement, someone take the wheel. I'm going to mute for a little bit here. Take it away.
Jim, you take it.
Is the book mainly focused on your time with the Replacements, or is it they're kind of more of a focus on some of the other projects you've worked on?
There's 2 chapters on the Replacements, and there's a kind of an early days and a later period, up to the point where they broke up and whatnot. But The book really started with, how I got, how I was just how music became something undeniably. I mean, I don't know how to put it into words without sounding crazy, but I found really early on, maybe before I was even 5 years old, that music had an effect on me that was almost a little frightening to me as a young kid. And the older I got, the more I realized that, although I had lots of friends who loved music, not everybody reacted to music the same way I did. So so I wrote about that and how music came into my life. And then, basically what I was saying before, started going to radio, going into making a record store. Then we started a record label. Then, I run across a band like The Replacements, who I became so involved with that I actually started managing the band and co-producing their records. And then, we shut Twin Tone down, and I moved to California, and I worked for New West for 17 years. And then I go freelance, and I'm doing all kinds of I basically do the same thing I've always done, which is, A&R and production work, but I'm doing it on an independent basis now. And I get to choose my projects a little bit more specifically than I did when I was at a label. Although when I was at the labels, I never really worked on anything I didn't like, because I'm not good at doing that. But mostly, there were a few projects that I did where maybe my heart wasn't really in it quite as much, and that was a bit of a struggle for me. So now I only do things that I'm head over heels in love with.
That's the way to do it. So,
Yep.
Of all the different roles you've had in the industry, is there a role that was your favorite?
Well, I mean, I think I've said it before that, maybe the record store was, where I was most at home, and where, it might have been the best job I ever had, really. It just, working behind the counter in a record store and talking about music with people all day long is just a dream come true for me. So I'm not very good when I'm put in normal social situations, because I don't really know much about anything besides records and books. So that's but yeah, I mean, I think that I did my best with the knowledge that I had, and I think the record store would probably be maybe the highlight. But there's I like so many aspects of it. I don't think I'll ever retire. I think I'll work as long as I possibly can, and because I just love what I do.
That's great.
And I consider myself very, very lucky there. I mean, I just I've gone lots of ups and downs in the music business and in my career, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And it's been a great experience all the way through. And the book, I think, sort of tells that story.
So
Absolutely a great read. And Kathy, you can borrow my copy anytime. It sits right here.
love to.
Fun book. And before we move on to the latest deluxe release from The Replacements, one of the things I love to again, those lunches and just and now following you on Facebook, being friends there, you to the Tastemaker title of everything that you've done as a music lover. Who are some up and coming bands, or just bands that you're really tapping into right now before we move on to the mats?
I think my favorite new record is the new album by Tristan. It's called Unpopular Music. She's a Nashville musician. I've loved her since the very first second I heard her, and thought that she would have been a perfect artist for New West, and was just never able to make that happen. Couldn't get the ear of the president of the company on that one. But anyway, she's got a new album, which I think is just absolutely fabulous. I have a little feeling, I'm just getting used to it. I've only played it 4 or 5 times now, but I have a feeling it might be the best record she's ever made. So that's one I would mention. There's an LA group called Gold Star that I probably mentioned to you last time we spoke.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning them. Yeah.
But they've got 5 albums out, and a new single just came out a couple of weeks ago called Happy. And they are, I mean, they have become one of my favorite rock bands of all time. And I cannot recommend their recordings more highly. When I go see them play, which is they don't play as often as they should, as far as I'm concerned. But when I go see them play, I just stand there and I literally marvel. It's just one great song after another. If I had to describe them to you, I would say it's somewhere between the kind of catchy anthem-like songs of, say, a Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, but they have a very dark underbelly, maybe like the Only Ones. So there's some it's a heavy band, and the singer is very charismatic on stage, and they're just one of the best things around. I would say also there's a band from Tulsa, Oklahoma called Broncho. They, in my mind, they may have made the best record of 2025. It's an album called Natural Pleasure. And other things I'm listening to of late, there's a new Nick Drake box set that is phenomenal. And the new Dylan box set, the volume 18 of the bootleg series, 8 CD set. I just can't stop listening to it. I'm completely obsessed with it.
If there's Dylan out there, Peter Jesperson is listening to it. Absolutely.
That's right. I was thinking the other day, I said to my wife, I said, if I only had Bob Dylan records to listen to for the rest of my life, I'd probably be okay with that.
Did you
Does not
see
surprise me.
see that recent movie about him?
I did.
What did you think of it?
I liked it. I didn't love it. I went to it actually thinking I was not going to like it at all. So I was surprised that after about 10 minutes, I just let my biases go, and I just sat back and enjoyed the film, in spite of the fact that, some of the, they had to, put some things in the movie that aren't really what happened in real life.
Right.
He did not meet Pete Seeger at the, Greystone Hospital, with Woody Guthrie, or, those sorts of things. They put some things together that didn't really happen, but I thought it was really enjoyable. What did you guys think? Did you see it?
I did.
Go ahead, Kathy. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, you go ahead. I thought it was good. It didn't blow me away, but I thought it was well done.
I'm the same on that. This seems like a consensus. Yeah, liked it, didn't love it. I'm thinking most the Elton John one, Rocket Man, or the Queen, one. I thought that even though it made the artistic license, the Queen movie just blew me away.
Cool. The funny thing about the Timothée Chalamet thing was I thought he did a real good job in the film for the most part. But what I liked even better than the movie was the appearance he did on Saturday Night Live just knocked my socks off. I mean, weird selection of songs, and I just thought he really was magnificent in that setting.
Yeah, he's a talent for sure.
He is.
He's definitely a talent. If I'm not mistaken, Eric, I think John worked on one of his guitars.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah. So.
Small world.
Yeah.
And Jim, what did you think of it?
I have not seen it yet. I will definitely check it out in the near future. Musical biopics, I mean, I tend to enjoy them, but I don't think I've ever seen one that I would say was historically accurate, shall we say. But I guess that's the nature of Hollywood.
That's Hollywood, yeah.
About the person, but they're not always keeping it close to reality. So
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that, Jim.
Yeah, I try to enjoy it in that spirit, that it's kind of paying tribute to who that person is and what they're about, without always giving you the straight facts. And admittedly, I'm not the biggest Bob Dylan fan. I like his music, but I'm not a huge fan. So looking at it from that perspective, I expect I'll enjoy it when I see it. But it's on my list for sure.
Great.
And the frustrating thing about what you just said, Jim, is that for people, especially like younger people today that didn't grow up with these artists, people just believe everything that they see in the movies. So when they put things up or to just make it work movie wise, people are getting the wrong information. That's the only thing that frustrates me about it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Although with the internet nowadays, it seems like whenever a movie has any kind of historical inaccuracy, there's usually an army of people that will go online and correct it.
If people take the time to go research it,
Right. Yeah. But it's a lot harder to get away with that nowadays.
Yeah.
All right, Jim, I need you to give us our internet guy. I need to hear one of your but actuallys.
I'll try to work one up.
Oh yeah, okay. You do those the best. But I'm going to use this as a time to pivot over to the replacements. But what are your thoughts, Peter, on all this talk that keeps coming up, especially with the director James Gunn, among many other? There's so many rumor mills out there about a replacements biopic. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, now there's one that's in serious development. Finn Wolfhard, actor and musician, best known probably as being one of the stars of the Stranger Things television series, limited series. So he appears. It seems to me, everything I've read about him, he's a good guy. He really, really, genuinely loves the replacements, and he's got the. I think he's got the influence to be able to pull this off and get a real movie studio in to make the picture. I think, as Jim was saying, he hasn't seen a biopic that really, that he felt was entirely successful. And I feel the same. So, there was a few years back, you might remember there was a guy named Josh Green that had optioned the Trouble Boys book for a movie, and he was determined to make it, and it just never came through. And while I was excited at the prospect of it possibly happening, I was kind of heaved a sigh of relief when it went away, because I thought, maybe it wouldn't, even though I think Josh Green was a very smart and talented man, it could have not turned out very well. Maybe it puts a stain on the band's, reputation, rather than, helping to solidify their position in music history. So I'm a little wary of it. I don't know what's going to happen with this new one. But it seems like they're very serious, and they're going to get the film made.
Well, I have a very distinct feeling you will be a consultant on that movie. Who do you want to play you?
I can't even go there. I have no idea. I mean, they cast when Josh Green was doing the adoption of the film, they actually had some. They had people who were chosen to play all the different main players in the film, and so that was just as bizarre as anything that's ever happened to me to consider that. But so yeah, I don't know. I couldn't even guess at that. I don't want to guess, to tell you the truth.
Well, I just hope they involve Matt Dillon in some way, because I know he's a super fan, and maybe he can help get a little sway on that one as well.
Yeah. Well, I think Bob Mayer is going to be involved in the in the screenplay and whatnot, and I think he'll keep them on the straight and narrow. But I don't know if Finn Wolfhard needs it. I think Finn Wolfhard probably is wouldn't make something that wouldn't be appropriate for the replacements anyway.
Well, his Stranger Things co-star Winona Ryder, huge fan as well. So
that's true.
And you mentioned Bob Mayer, and now I want to move in now to the Let It Be deluxe edition that is recently on. By the time this airs, it'll be on the shelves. And Bob Mayer, as far as I know, he was not involved with the liner notes on this one, so that's a first for the deluxe editions, right?
That's right.
So how did Elizabeth Nelson get involved with that, as opposed to Bob, who has been the go-to for the box sets?
Well, we were just talking about this the other day. I mean, we were asked this question, I actually thought Bob was going to be involved in this set. So was surprised when he made an announcement a few months back, just saying he was stepping out of the. He's also, besides writing liner notes, he was a co-producer on the previous projects, from Maxwell's to the Don't Tell a Soul, to the Pleased to Meet Me, etc. And he's just decided that he wanted to move on and do other things. He's writing a lot for the New York Times now. I think he's developing an idea for another book himself, and he'd written so much about the replacements, and it would have been great to have him involved. And I'm a little sad that he wasn't involved, but he was very helpful whenever we needed it. If I needed to ask him a question, there's a lot of things that he knows, that he's learned from his research over the years. I mean, he really is the foremost authority of the replacements these days. He was very helpful. But to me, he'd written plenty of stuff, and I thought, maybe we should bring in a new voice. Even if he had been involved in the project, maybe he could have just been a co-producer and, not written liner notes. And so I kind of started thinking around of other people that would be interesting to bring in that might kind of give us a different perspective. And I have just fallen madly in love with Elizabeth Nelson's writing, and I think she's one of the best music writers in the world these days. And and also I think to have a female voice, not only a new voice, but a female voice, could be an interesting thing. And oh man, I could not. I mean, when she sent me the first draft of her notes, I mean, I definitely was very tearful. I was very moved by what she wrote, and whatever it was I expected when I invited her into the project, she blew right past it. It's way beyond anything I ever anticipated. It's so much better. Just fantastic writing.
And did you find that a little bit more apt for this particular album? And she wrote it rather eloquently, that this is the first Matt's album that was kind of, had a bit more of a female perspective.
Well, I think that's exactly that's one of the main themes of her notes. I think that also the writing styles are different. Bob Mayer comes from a newspaper background, so his writing is very it's very I mean, he's very good at just creating sentences and paragraphs and all that stuff, but it has a little bit more of a flavor of a reporter, whereas Elizabeth Nelson's is something, I don't know what it is. She's a combination of very kind of deeply intellectual to just downright laugh out loud funny. I mean, some of the things that she says just really make me laugh out loud. I think she's very she's smart. She knows what she's doing, and yeah, there's just a little something different about it. And I think it's I think it's going to be one of the things that is going to be talked about the most when this box set comes out.
Oh, interesting.
Well, I know I'm the super fan, obviously, of the bunch here, and I'm sort of glad Marty's not here. He'd be poking me constantly about my replacements love. But one thing with this one, and I'm wondering if this is the producers heard what the fans were looking for. This is the first of the box sets that's being available completely on vinyl, as in addition to the CD and vinyl and all that. It's across all forms, but everything, including the B-sides, the live concerts, are available immediately on vinyl. Was that something that you, as one of the producers, were listening to the fans' desire to have on vinyl?
I think it was something that kind of happened organically as we were putting it together. We just felt like the 4 CDs and one single vinyl LP, wasn't appropriate for this for some reason. And, we had, we were going to remaster the album. Nobody thought it needed to be remixed, although, we made the record in 1984, and Paul Westerberg and Steve Felstead, the engineer, and I were, the primary people involved in the mixing. And we weren't, Felstead was a super, professional studio guy. Paul and I were novices. So I'm not saying that we're any great shakes as producers, but I think it sounded the way it was supposed to sound. So we didn't need to do a remix, but we did remaster it. And we used a guy that I cannot say enough good about it. Much like Elizabeth Nelson, Justin Perkins, who did the mastering. He's got a place called Mystery Room Mastering, now located in Madison, Wisconsin, but he does work from all over the world there. And he just, I honestly think that he made Let It Be sound the best that it's ever sounded. And I think we're going to replace all the digital service providers, the original mastering. We're going to replace it with this new one because I think it's the best sound.
So, and having done it in 2008 with the initial, when the expanded editions of all the albums came out. So, what did you find?
The 2008 was just CD only. But
yeah, the CD only with the expanded stuff. So,
all 8 CDs.
Yeah, and now here we are going through it again. What have you discovered anything new? Because this has been with you for 40 plus years with the band, and this album in particular. Anything that you discovered going through it one more time?
Absolutely. When we were doing the CD reissues, the budgets were smaller back then, and the replacements had only been broken up, 7 years at that time. And what's happened since then is that their reputation has kind of snowballed, and they are I think it's really astounding to me that they're as relevant today as they seem to be. And so anyway, I think that because of that, and also certainly because of Bob Mayer's biography that brought so much more attention to the band, from people that didn't necessarily pay attention to them before or knew them peripherally, I think that book really, really cemented their legacy. And so suddenly the budgets went up. And so what that meant for this time around, going back to Let It Be, we were able to pull the multi-tracks out and go through them all, because we could create mixes for unreleased tracks that had never come out before. We didn't have that kind of money, that kind of budget back in 2007, 8, when we were doing the 8 albums on CD. So so that was a really, really big deal. And one of the great finds, maybe the best thing about the box in terms of unreleased material, is we found a vocal that I had completely forgotten about on Androgynous, an alternate vocal. And when it popped up on the on the multi-tracks, I had everything transferred. There's a studio literally walking distance from my house, fabulous studio called Round and Wound, and I have everything bounced from the 2-inch reels to digital files so that we could share them and listen to them with Jason Jones, the producer, the gentleman who co-produced with me. He's one of the senior VPs of A&R and Rhino Catalog. And when we heard this extra vocal, it blew me away. And it was clearly not a master vocal, so I could see why we hadn't used it on the the first version of the album. But it's good enough. It's got enough emotion. That anyway, it makes for a very special alternate vocal on a very important song for the band, and something that in some ways has more resonance now than it did in 1984. It was a very forward-thinking piece of writing, and something that I know really surprised Westerberg, and it really surprised me when it suddenly arrived in his head.
Now, is that the piano vocal? Is that the piano one that was released in advance?
Yes.
Okay, I'm loving that. Just him and the piano. Wow.
Yeah. And it's a lot of the backing is the same as the album version, but it's the vocal that's very different. And there's other. We got to do remixes of Gary's Got a Boner. We did remixes of a song called Perfectly Lethal that hadn't been out before. Not Perfectly. Yeah, Perfectly Lethal. No, Street Girl hadn't been out before.
Street Girl, yeah.
Yeah. So those are all really interesting pieces. I think we found yet another home demo of Answering Machine that has a different kind of feel to it. So we have two versions of two demos of Answering Machine in there. We also went back to the B-side of the I Will Dare 12-inch and issued the song, the cover of the T-Rex song that they had there, and a live version of Hank Williams' Hey Good Lookin', which is kind of a mess, but a fun mess. I remember laughing our butts off when we were listening to the tape on the way home from the recording, the show that we'd recorded it at. Bob Stinson's felt like he was sounded like he was playing a completely different song, like playing the wrong song, and we made merciless fun of him. He tried desperately to get to the tape deck in the van and throw it out the window, but he was unsuccessful. And so I was able to use that again for a B-side, just to taunt the man. But anyway, in a fun way, in a loving way. I'm trying to think of what else. The remastering is a big deal. The bonus tracks are a big deal. And then we found a live recording, 28-song show from Chicago in August of 1984. That was a audience recording, but so it's not exactly hi-fi, but the performance and the song selection are just unbelievable, I think. So it really is to me, it's a better representation of what the band really sounded like when they were firing on all cylinders than, say, them live at Maxwell's, which is a much better, we had a mobile truck recording that show. It's much better audio, but I don't think the performance is quite as strong as what we have on the Cubby Bear recording.
Well, typically, we talked earlier about the album. The one album didn't include the live stuff. The live recordings were always on one of the CDs or two of the CDs, and then it would be released the following record store day it would be the LP of that. So now that the LP is being released now and available for people, next record store day, are we going to maybe have When the Shit Hits the Fans officially on vinyl?
Well, that's another one. The band would have to consent to that, and in some ways, it's kind of that's one that might be better left, for the bootleggers.
That's not a no, folks. That is not a no.
It's not a no.
Not a hard no, anyway.
We might do a separate breakout of the Cubby Bear or something. That's what they call it when you pull something out of a box set. You break out a piece or a portion of it. So that could still happen. I don't know what's in mind, down the road a piece, but we'll see.
Well, I know I can't thank you enough for joining us here again, Peter, and talking. Because I could go on hours with this guy about the Replacements and music in general. It's just so much in that brain, and you see it. That's just a microcosm of what you see in that man's house right there. So, Peter, as always, thank you for joining us here on All Over the Place, and welcome back anytime.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be on your program, and it's something that I know lots and lots of people listen to and love. So, I'm very flattered that you would invite me back. Thank you.
That means a lot, Peter. Thank you so much. All right. On behalf of All Over the Place and Vinyl Record Dude and Danny Zalesko Presents and Drum Talk TV, take care, folks. We'll be back real soon.
All right. You guys take care.
All Over the Place, where the fun sanity never ends.